morning and welcome. I'm so happy to see all of you here this morning. My name's Elizabeth Shaw. I'm with the Sioka Center for Principled Entrepreneurship here at Catholic University. I also teach in the School of Philosophy. More important, from 2009 up until he died last February, I worked very closely with Michael Novak. I was his right-hand person, you might say. So that all explains why I am up here at the podium this morning. Now, I won't speak for the rest of you, but for me, the world has been a lot quieter this past year. And for an obvious reason. Michael Novak was a man of words, lots of words. We all know he loved to write, and he obviously wrote and published voluminously for 60 plus years. But even more than that, I'd venture, he loved to talk. Lectures, dinner conversations, phone calls, short chats while in taxi on the way to the airport or the doctor or some other errand. Countless, relentless emails and texts. You name it, the man never stopped. And those of us who worked for him know that for sure. So my world, at least, has certainly been a lot quieter without Michael this past year. I suspect the same is true for many of you. For this reason, it's a blessing that we can be here today to talk, to honor Michael, and to do so in the spirit of something he often loved to joke about, namely his world-famous humility. Before we get started, I have three things I want to note. First, most of you are probably aware that today, the 21st, is not the actual literal anniversary of Michael's death. That was on the 17th, a few days ago. But today was as close as we could get to that, given the complexities of scheduling things. Today is, however, the 7th anniversary of the death of another man who was also very important to many of us here at Catholic University, Father Kurt Pritzl. Father Pritzl was dean of the School of Philosophy, beloved by many on this campus and beyond, and also a dear friend of the Novaks, Michael and Karen both. So it's quite fitting for us to remember Father Pritzl today as well. My second note is that the Sioka Center intends to sponsor this event annually, and we'll be calling this series the Novak Symposium. Going forward, each year we'll identify an issue or theme inspired by Michael Novak's life and work, around which to organize a day of further study and conversation. Quick preview. Next year, 2019, will mark 25 years since Michael was awarded the Templeton Prize. And so for next year's event, we may take as our inspiration and springboard his 1994 Templeton Address, which was titled Awakening from Nihilism. So stay tuned for more information on that front. Finally, I want to be sure you take a look at the collection of Novak books we have available as gifts for you. These are stacked at the registration tables out front, and we hope you'll take them with you when you leave today. Now, without further ado, let me welcome and introduce our first speaker, Dr. Andrew Abella. Dr. Abella is the provost, founding dean of the Bush School of Business and Economics, and associate professor of marketing here at Catholic University. His research on the integrity of the marketing process has been published in several academic journals. He is also co-editor of A Catechism for Business, published by CUA Press, and also winner of the 2009 Novak Award from the Acton Institute. The Novak Award is one that Acton bestows on scholars for their significant contributions to the study of the relationship between religion and economic liberty. Thank you for being with us this morning, Dr. Abella.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Catholic University of America. It's great to see you all here. A special warm welcome to Jana and Richard Novak, Michael's daughter and son, respectively. There they are. I think a round of applause have them joining us. Thank you. I also want to welcome Mr. Igor Babayov, who is the painter who painted that beautiful portrait of Michael that is hanging outside. Mr. Babayov, very welcome to Catholic University. Ambassador Michael Novak is one of those people to whom it's given to change the course of history, not through the exercise of political or military power, but through the power of his ideas. We're proud to say that Michael began his academic life with a stint here at the Catholic University of America, and so we're proud to call him one of our own. And we're delighted to be celebrating his life and his work here today. Michael wrote about the spiritual foundations of economic and political systems and the moral ideals of democratic capitalism. He wrote or edited over 45 books. His work has been translated into every major Western language, as well as Korean, Chinese, Japanese, and Bengali. We could spend all day talking about his the impact that he's had. Let me just sort of highlight a few really, I think, noteworthy examples. Before the collapse of the Soviet Union, his book, The Spirit of Democratic Capitalism, was translated and published by underground presses and had a transformative effect on the solidarity movement over, particularly in Poland, but across the rest of the various republics under the Soviet yoke. In the former Czechoslovakia, dissidents used to gather together to read this book. Proponents of democracy in Argentina and Chile also turned to his works for guidance. In the UK, Lady Margaret Thatcher credited him with providing the intellectual basis for much of her work. And in El Salvador, former President Alfredo Cristiani said that it was listening to Ambassador Novak speak and then reading his books that inspired him to run for the presidency and work for a just peace. Michael, in his early life, considered himself a liberal or a progressive, but his experience in liberal environments led him to ever deeper dissent from those views, first on foreign policy issues, then on cultural issues, such as labor union practices, on abortion, family, and crime. He became a trailblazer in what came to be known as the neoconservative movement. A neoconservative, as you all know, Irving Kristol famously defined it as a liberal who's been mugged by reality. Michael's version of that was a progressive with 3 teenage children, so which I suppose amounts to the same thing, right? So. He was appointed by President Ronald Reagan as U.S. ambassador to the Conference on Security and Cooperation in Europe, has received numerous awards, including the prestigious Templeton Prize for Progress in Religion, 26 honorary degrees, including, most especially, one from us, the Catholic University of America, in 2015. But I want to kind of bring this closer to home. It's noteworthy here at our university how much of what we are doing, particularly in the Bush School of Business and Economics, was influenced by Michael. I'm going to bring this personal. So years ago, a young high school student was trying to figure out what to do with his life. He was thinking of a career in business, but was not sure that it would fit with his Catholic faith. He read Michael's The Spirit of Democratic Capitalism, and that prompted him to pursue a career in business. It turned out to be very successful in a large corporation, then as an entrepreneur, and then after selling his company as a second career, very successful in fundraising. And that person is Phil Brock, who is the Bush School's Assistant Dean for Development, sitting over there. Some years later, another young person, also an entrepreneur, was recovering from a nasty experience where his startup had been acquired for a very significant sum, but the company that acquired it turned out to be a fraud and was went bankrupt, and so there was no money there to pay for this acquisition, and all of his efforts kind of went up in smoke. This young entrepreneur, as a result, ended up questioning the whole idea of free markets and entrepreneurship. Then he read Michael's book, Business as a Calling, which renewed his confidence, gave him the moral energy to start again. This time he was successful. This young entrepreneur, not so young anymore, is also here, and you know him as the still reasonably young the director of the Sioka Center for Principal Entrepreneurship, Professor Andreas Widmer, also here with us today. Another young man working as a management consultant in New York City, struggling, had abandoned any form of religion while still in high school, was now going through a process of reversion, rediscovering his Catholic faith, but also wondering how to reconcile that faith as a management consultant, where his next task was to lay off 10,000 middle managers. One evening, this young man came across a large display of Michael's book, The Catholic Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, in a bookstore on Fifth Avenue. He read that book and started to see how being a faithful Catholic, being a successful business person actually can and do go together very well. He became so interested in these ideas that he later went on to get a PhD, start an academic career, and eventually became founding dean of our new School of Business and Economics. So that not so young man was me. Unfortunately, he spent too little time as a dean, was kicked out of the business school, and forced to become university provost. So now, along the way, we've built up a delightful school, including many wonderful faculty members, two of whom I've already mentioned. Two others I want to highlight. Max Torres was the 2004 Novak Award winner, and Catherine Pekarluk was the 2015 Novak Award winner. There's a third winner on our faculty whose name I don't remember, but at one point I was thinking maybe we should just make this a requirement. You want to get a job here? Go win the Novak Award first. So Catherine and her husband Michael, also on the Bush School faculty, and their numerous children were next door neighbors of Michael's when they were down at Ave Maria. When we lured Catherine and Michael here, we realized it's going to have to be a package, and Michael should come back too. So which he did, joining our faculty, as Elizabeth mentioned, in the fall of 2015. His tenure with us was all too short, but it was a great privilege for us that he spent what would turn out to be his last days with us here at Catholic University, where he began. And so I think it's very appropriate that we're gathered here today to celebrate his life and his work, and I welcome you all to the Bush School's celebration of a legacy of faith and reason honoring Michael Novak. Thank you.